Welcome to the Final Stage Podcast, home of the second most official, unofficial Sasuke web series. I am William, and I am joined as ever by my friend and co-host, Arsenette.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I already started laughing. Holy crap.
It's
Sorry,
what you
I'm
do.
now self-conscious. Somebody complaining about me laughing, and now I'm completely self-conscious about it.
Oh, don't.
Damn your YouTube comments.
Nah, don't. Look. They say laughter's the best medicine, right?
That is true.
So that must mean you're like the healthiest person in the world, because you never stop laughing.
I wish.
See? See?
But it's keeping me sane, sort of. All right. You can drop that joke.
Nah, I'm going to keep it in. So anyway, how have you been this past month?
Extremely busy, even though it doesn't look like on the website. I've got a couple things on the website, but I've had a lot going on in the background.
I have no idea what any of these things are.
No, actually. Well, yes and no, sort of. You get like a general idea. I mean, stuff has totally crashed and burned in the 7 years I've been doing this, and so I'm just being a bit more hopeful. Come on, you gotta get something through. I'm still working on that big one that crashed and burned earlier this year. Damn it! I'm gonna get it done. Dang it!
Yeah, let's
try for 2016.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, let's not get too crazy with talking about things we can't talk about.
Oh, you did remind me, since I'm now looking at my nifty notes, because you always have notes for each month, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just kind of skim over it, and then I get to into the actual podcast, and I go, I forgot. But yeah, I did buy a domain address. Just decided to do it. Right now, it just links directly to the... Yeah, you've been telling me for as long as we've known each other.
Years!
Yes, years!
I've been wanting you to get a domain address. I considered buying one for you, just so you can have it.
Yes, you did. Yes. I know a couple of years ago, I was at a point where I wasn't sure if I was going to continue. Like, right after Sasuke was canceled. Again.
Well,
and
makes
then
sense.
There was some, because no one knew how Inui was going to do things, and if it was going to change or if it was going to go away. Like, the emphasis for me doing this is, at first it was a blog to follow the All-Stars, and then the rest of it, it turned basically into a news type thing. I'm still trying to get it back to my point of view with news on top of it. And people seem to like that sort of, zany sense of humor and, stupid things that I come up with rather than just a straight dry blog on stuff like that. Right. But there was a point where, they were going to retire the All-Stars, and I'm like, do I really want to watch the show if it still is like that? Or the show was going to be off the air. And I'm like, so why am I going to bother buying a domain name on something that's just going to die? And decided, you know what? At worst, I have it for a couple of years and see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of things just to kind of preserve the history of it, and it's now that it had a lot of things on it. So I'm gonna try it. So let's see if it works. Right now, it just shows the blogspot thing. I may change the front page to have different things on there, but at least for now, it's cheap. Yay! Right. Yeah. And so I just figured, why not? So.
Yeah. So you are now ramblingrican.com.
Yeah.
You got a brand new shiny.com.
Yeah. Even though I've been in LLC for a year, this is the first time I have to blog. I have it. Doesn't
Doesn't it feel nice to have a .com?
It feels weird.
Yeah.
I've had one before for different things, but this is the most personal.
I own 2 .coms. It's great.
Yeah. I've always had like I've had .coms and even .nets for and .orgs. But there were other people's property, but
right.
this one's me. So like I am Rambling Greek. It just feels weird. But it's easier for people to find, and even if people type in the blogspot part, it'll still redirect it there seamlessly, which is sometimes what. Yeah, so I'm happy about that. So, yeah, hopefully in the next couple, as I get closer to being able to finish and actually publish the book. I'll have like a portal where, blogs over here, this is where you can buy the book, and extra little odds and ends. Here's the Sasuke website, try to have like a go-to link for things that people are looking for. And hopefully develop a bit of the YouTube page as well. So it's just, I'm still working on that part because it just,
Speaking of YouTube, you put up a new short video. Yes. It's becoming painfully clear how little we did on recording. And I've mentioned this before, where I wish I did more recording on incidental things. Right.
So if I do something like this again, even if it is using my iPhone, just have a bit more in-between type coverage. The video that's coming up is actually looking forward to as well. I need to figure out a way to get it to like 5 minutes and under. Because we go back to Haruta, and he's, we're taking photos and whatever. And then my friend Perry, who will be shown, later in this podcast, he made Yuji speak Dutch. And it's this hilarious video of him trying to get him to say a few phrases in Dutch to hilarious results. He did that to Shingo, but that's a much later video. But and Shingo was a lot smarter. Just give you spoilers on that one. But it was funny. So, and then I had to wait to get the video from Perry as well, to get from his point of view. So I have the final one, and then I have the behind the scenes video of that video, and all of that happened in Haruta. So I'm trying to find a way to condense that a bit in the middle of trying to do all this extra administrative stuff in the background. So it's been a busy month. It's just I haven't been able to get a lot online. I did manage the Reefman interview, which I'm really freaking happy. It's taken me a long time. That one took me forever because whenever I do any kind of interviews and stuff, I cross-reference a lot of things. Like, for example, he is a legitimate world champion in outrigger canoe. Like, that's a legit thing. So I'm like trying to find trying to find videos, trying to find the documentation on that. And then of course I get distracted by all this extra. He's really well involved in a lot of the things that he does between dance competitions and canoeing. And he's just very sports oriented. So, it's not just some random guy that showed up in basically a loincloth and Sasuke ended up in the third stage. I mean, if you knew all that before, you wouldn't be as surprised that he was as accomplished as he was. So I tried putting a lot in there, plus having to listen to the 1 hour interview that I had on tape. Well, I still call it tape. It's not a digital recorder, but yeah. So it was an interesting thing. So I'm happy I got that done. So
it's funny. With your interview, when you posted it up, selfishly, the first thing I did was search my name to see if my question got answered.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. So the article gets a thumbs up from me.
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually, I wasn't expecting it because I had at first I thought it was going to be an extremely long interview because there was a lot that I covered just from the audio, and then all the circumstances that had to do with getting that audio, then the tournament itself. And then at the end of it, once people got to see the tournament, they had their own questions, and I don't know. So I wasn't expecting to be able to talk to him again. And my friend's like, "Okay, I'll send the questions through Facebook." I'm like, "Oh," and then I had to go and send all that stuff over, have that translated, and she translated to him, and then he wrote it in French, and then had to translate back into English, and then so I had to add all that at the end. So it was just that delayed it a bit on top of already my far behind, my list was getting further and further behind. So that was that was interesting. So, but yes, I got it done. So it was like this, this albatross, and like, oh, I gotta get this done. And I didn't want to try to rush it because everybody can tell when everything's rushed. So I was trying to avoid that as much as possible. But yeah. So, and then the next thing, I'm looking at my nifty notes. I'll be getting the calendar. I said that I was going to be doing it this month. The Sendai event, the thing that always shows up in Hokkaido every year, where some competitors go to the city of Sendai for a PTA event, and they just have a small little Sasuke course. That's still going to be there. And it's coming up this weekend coming up, which, it would be after this airs. November, I believe, is the 8th. I think it's the 8th. And so I like taking photos from the ones that I already took from Japan, and when I was in Sasuke in May. Some of the stuff that's happened over the summer, photos that were sent to me, and then the one in Sendai. So I want to have all of those incorporated in the calendar, so it'll come out after all that's sent back to me. So I would say middle to end of November, hopefully for the holiday season.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay.
Your turn.
Well, since you brought it up. So this past month I went to New York Comic Con. This was my 5th convention in 5 months, and admittedly, it might have been a bit much.
I don't know how you did it at all.
I do, but it wasn't easy, I guess. It's just everything was spaced out in about a month apart, each one, and New York Comic Con is obviously the biggest one, and the 2 video game ones were obviously way smaller than the other ones, but
New York was 170,000?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I saw it because I was trying to compare it because they grow each year. And there were 150 last year, and I think someone said 170 this year.
That wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. So this is, okay. So, kind of just like talking about the event a bit. So this is my 6th year going to New York Comic Con.
Wow. You've seen the whole evolution on that sucker.
Pretty much. So, like, to give you an idea of, like, New York Comic Con has changed a lot.
Yeah. There's 2 conventions now, right?
No.
Didn't they absorb the anime one?
Okay, well, I guess it used to go, back when I first started going, it used to be called New York Comic Con / New York Anime Fest.
Okay.
But they have since dissolved the New York Anime Fest name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like one super convention.
Right.
And this, like, it's so weird seeing how much that convention has grown into the massive size that it has become, because when I first went 6 years ago, you can walk up to the convention center and buy a ticket.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore.
This year, everything except for Thursday only tickets sold out in like an hour or less.
Yeah, I think some of them were gone by 15 minutes, and then the other ones by the end of the hour. I remember because I was planning on going this year,
Yeah,
and it turned out
faster.
that we couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
and hopefully next year. So I don't know. It is the
We'll
closest. Otakon is also. I think it's something. Otakon's difficult for me simply because of where it is. The time frame.
Right.
I don't drive, so my husband is the one that drives. And
Right.
so for us to go down there at a busy season for him, it's a bit difficult because I'd like to stay long enough to make the trip worth it, because it's about 3 hours for me, with all the traffic, from where I am to get Baltimore. Yeah, it's about 2.5, 3 hours to get to it. And then so like I can't do what I do with Anime Next, where I went for the day and then drove back home, because it's about an hour away from me.
Right.
About an hour and a half. But still, that's a long trip to just go for a day. And Otakon, you have to pay for the whole weekend ticket. There are no day tickets.
Yeah.
So New York, I was probably thinking of doing like 1, maybe 2 days, and then that's it. But I don't know. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that, if I do it at all. But, just my location gives me the opportunity. It's actually technically closer to get to New York than it is to Baltimore.
Right.
And then I think it's another year Otakon goes to DC.
Yeah.
Is that 17?
2017 they're moving to Washington DC.
Okay, so next year's the last one, right?
That is correct.
And then Anime Next has moved from Somerset to Atlantic City, and that's in June. So I personally like it because it's closer to me.
I'm not particularly thrilled about that, to be honest.
Really?
I understand why they did it, but it's just like I don't know. It's weird. I realize Baltimore's further away than me from Atlantic City, but I don't know.
It's the beach.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about it still.
Come on, it's Atlantic City.
I don't know.
I mean, Atlantic City's a dump. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
it's a dump.
that's part of the problem. At least the section of Baltimore Otakon's in is the nice section.
That is true. However, I like the boardwalk. If you're on the boardwalk, you're fine, and that's exactly where it's going to be. It's not going to be off in some. It's like it's going to be on the boardwalk. So at least you can do the boardwalk if you can get. There's plenty of places to eat. There's plenty of places to hang out. And if you get bored, you just stand and stare at the ocean. So we're good. Okay. And in Somerset, you couldn't move in Somerset. It was they had no space to move. It was extremely loud, extremely claustrophobic.
Like absolutely, they had to move. They were too big.
I'm not sure how many they had this year. I would say the same. Yeah, it was too many. And I went only for half a day, if it even that. I think I only went for the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did only go for the evening.
But speaking of too big, that kind of just bring it back to New York Comic Con for a minute.
Yeah.
It's grown so much that I'm this year I'm thoroughly convinced that New York Comic Con has grown too big for its own good.
Okay.
And I just want to start out. I did have a good time. I just want to say that because some of my comments might sound overly negative about the convention. Like this wasn't my favorite year.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. There's just so many people, and they rented out the Hammerstein Ballroom too, to hold stuff there as well. So it's like they don't have for those of you who don't know, the Javits Center where New York Comic Con is held, it's really big.
Yeah,
it's a really big building, and they have the entire building.
Yeah,
and they are out of room in that building,
and they keep expanding. They keep expanding to different areas of the city, even at different times of the week. I think they had stuff like the previous. I think it started like the Saturday of the previous week, and they went on to like the Wednesday of the following week.
Yeah.
They did that with the Naruto guy, where they had him in 3 different places. I think it was, and one of them was like out in some restaurant somewhere.
Yeah. Actually, funny you mentioned that. So, unfortunately, one of the things that kind of was disappointing about New York Comic Con, and this is like, it's no one's fault really. So like I'm not knocking them against this, but this is the first year where it seems like they actually like put effort into the Thursday lineup.
Okay.
Because they've been doing Thursday for a few years now, and we've never gone. I've never bought a 4-day pass just because like Thursday has always kind of been presented as like a bonus day. And it's like I don't need to take 2 days off of work for what is essentially more of the same.
Or will people do pre-reg that day?
Sometimes. Actually, no, you can't even. Everything's mailed out. There's very few people who pick up their tickets.
So Otakon is basically the only one that does that still.
Actually, this year Otakon mailed out tickets.
Wow.
I'll say this: on Friday, the first day of the convention, there was no line out the door.
That's good because I had a horrible thing last year with that.
Yeah. So between they also let people because you had to buy tickets before a certain date for them to get mailed out. Mm-hmm. They also let people pick up their tickets on Thursday at Otakon, and unlike last year, this year everything was working.
That's good.
So by Friday, there was no line.
That's good.
I was shocked.
So what did they do with the Naruto thing?
So one of the big guests at New York Comic Con this year was shit, I can't pronounce this name. Kishimoto.
Okay.
Kishimoto-san, the creator of Naruto. His big panel was on Thursday. And that was
Thursday?
Yeah, his panel was on Thursday. They had a packed schedule, and he was on Thursday. And so I was like, well, crap. I mean, the good news is it was recorded, so I can go watch it if I want.
They still have a Twitch stream on that.
They have. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. Yeah, no, it was on the main stage. Basically, it kind of brings up the other kind of like big problem that they have is the panels. Mm-hmm. So what they did was for the main stage, which is actually where Kishimoto was. They did this thing. They did a wristband system, where you come at the beginning of the day, get a wristband, and you can go do other stuff. Mm-hmm. Problem is, there's a lot of other panel rooms at the convention, and they don't clear the rooms at any of the other panel rooms. And I honestly believe they should probably do that next year because there's already so many people trying to get into certain panels already that people who get there ahead it's such like the fact that there are panels where you can get there an hour and a half early and still not make it in is that's good. A sign that there's a problem. I mean, like I said, I did a few cool things. Like Nickelodeon had like a voice acting panel, a voice acting booth again this year, which I did, and that was fun. Whatchamacallit? So, and they had like a little Back to the Future set up for a little cafe 80s thing, and that was because Back to the Future Day passed, and that was a big thing and all of that. There was still fun
Apparently
stuff.
It was huge in Japan, and my Twitter feed went nuts with the Japanese.
Oh yeah, Kano was
I totally forgot about it, and all of a sudden, it was for us. It was the day before because they're now 14 hours ahead. I'm like, what the heck is all this? Oh, I mean, they went nuts on it. It was so funny.
Yeah. It's funny actually. I went to Viz's industry panel, and like they kicked Funimation's butt big time. Because Funimation had like nothing to show. They even it was so messed up. Funimation had a Dragon Ball panel where they did not announce that they licensed Dragon Ball Super, even though they talked about Dragon Ball Super at the panel. It's like come on, man. You don't do that. But like Viz's big announcement is that they got Hunter x Hunter. So if there's any fans of Hunter x Hunter, Viz has it. It's going to be dubbed. It's going to be in Blu-ray. All that good stuff. Apparently, they just signed the deal right before the panel, so that's all the details they have.
Okay.
But the good news is that I did not miss Kishimoto entirely.
Okay.
Because on Saturday at the Hammerstein Ballroom, they had the North American premiere of Boruto the movie.
Okay.
Which is so. It's the first Naruto movie that is where the screenplay was completely written by Kishimoto himself, like the entire thing.
Wow.
And he considered it, according to him, like it's his favorite thing that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a movie that takes place after the manga conclusion. It follows Naruto's son, Boruto.
Okay.
And so I was there. They before they showed the movie, they had Kishimoto there, and they had Takaguchi, the voice actress who plays Naruto. They did answer some questions. It was funny. Takaguchi said that she hopes that Naruto doesn't get older because the voice gets hard to do. Because he started as a kid, and now in this movie he's a full-grown adult with a child. Yeah. I imagine if they ever do a thing where he's like an old man, she's just gonna die of voice strain.
Well, she's got some range right now.
Yeah. And so it was cool seeing them there, and then they played the movie, and the movie was actually like really good, personally. And it was really enhanced because I was in like a giant room full of Naruto fans. Mm-hmm. And it was a good, solid action shonen anime movie. Mm-hmm. And also, like, whenever like some of the older characters appeared, like each of them got a pop. Mm-hmm. And obviously Rock Lee got the largest cheer, so that's always good.
So all that was on the live stream as well, because I actually didn't see that because I completely skipped out on that.
The movie panel was not.
Okay, so just the earlier one.
The earlier one. Because they didn't live stream every panel. They just
it's nice at least that you have the opportunity to see that.
Oh yeah.
So what was the other thing that you saw on live stream? Because I see that on my notes.
Okay. So just to conclude New York Comic Con before we get to that, overall, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of issues that need to be solved. I still had fun, and as a quick aside, I actually, on the way home, I ran into SMF member Venus Headtrap at the train station.
Yay!
Which was like, I did not see him. He saw me, and was like, excuse me, are you William from and he's like, from the Sasuke forums, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And we said hello, took photo.
He just sent me that photo.
Oh, okay.
You sent me a photo, or like you tweeted it out, and I saw it when it happened. But that photo I have like mega's biggest of that photo. I just got it like right before I started this broadcast. So that was so funny.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was there, and I wasn't expecting that to happen. So
I found out that he was going like the day before he put it on his YouTube, that he was on his way over, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all, so I didn't know.
He yelled at me going, you should go next year, because he's planning on going next year. So, he is in the West Coast. Like, he's in Washington State.
Yes. Yeah. So that was fun. But the other thing is that, Twitch TV themselves, they have a booth on the main show floor. Mm-hmm. And they do just, all day they'll do interview live streams on the set that they have there.
Crunchyroll did that.
Yeah. It's it's a lot like what Crunchyroll does when they go to a convention, except like Twitch has like two sets and like a small little area for an audience to sit.
Oh, okay.
It's slightly bigger than what Crunchyroll gets, just because Twitch just has more room.
Yeah, and money.
Yeah, well. So one of the segments that they had was actually about American Ninja Warrior, and our resident beast, James McGrath, was a guest.
No, it's James the Beast McGrath. It's the whole thing.
James the Beast. Oh, yes, of course. James the Beast McGrath was one of the two guests for that. The other guest was a man named Desmond Odom, who has competed in American Ninja Warrior, and I personally don't remember ever seeing him on the show. He might have been on the show.
I don't know who he is. I have to go see it. It's a good reminder to go see it, because I haven't seen it.
I think he's a nice guy. He comes across as a nice guy.
We'll put the link on the show notes.
Yes, and it's about because it's the full day is the video, so it's about like 3.5 hours in.
Okay.
The actual interview itself is about 15 to 20 minutes long.
That's not bad.
Yeah. It wasn't there wasn't a lot that like you and I haven't heard before. It was just talking about training and about the obstacles and stuff, and the Twitch TV hosts make jokes about how the three of them are all fat, so they'll never do well on American Ninja Warrior. And
I just liked how they're constantly talking about it, so year round there is a continual discussion and is still in the psyche and lexicon of the current generation, which is smart, because that's what M9 did for several years.
Oh yeah. Desmond actually it was really cool. At the end, Desmond kind of like as like a closing statement, he basically said anyone is capable of doing it if you put in the effort in, and referenced the fact that in Japan, like, they had a fisherman and a shoe salesman as champions.
Yeah.
So obviously he watched the Japanese version.
Yep.
Which
that's
cool.
awesome.
Obviously James. It was like I said, mostly very basic. It was about a little bit about their history. It's about actually I completely forgot about this, but James competed in A&W too, and failed the first obstacle because he had a broken foot.
I don't remember that.
I can't remember if he told me this in one of the interviews I did with him or not. But either way, I think that was probably the most interesting piece of information.
I've talked to him and actually never done an interview, and I probably should, because he is a
yeah, you probably should. Yeah. And like, they talked about camping out for the walk online and all that stuff, and it's a fun little show, just talking about the a fun little interview talking about the show. So if you want to check it out, go ahead. It's on twitch.tv/twitch in their archive, and I'll make sure to link to it in the description.
Cool.
But one thing they also mentioned in the interview was that there are various gyms across the country that have Ninja Warrior obstacles, and they are holding a Ninja League, a National Ninja League competition, which is... Have you heard about this at all?
Yes, I have, because one of the events that you go to every often is the one in Mount Laurel, the Warrior Lab, which is like a grand total of like 25 minutes from where I live. I would say to 25-35 minutes, depending on traffic. It's not that far.
That's actually, they're the ones that are holding the finals, and it's the gym is run by Chris and Brian Wilczewski, and yes, and so he's like the quote unquote host of the event on when it comes to the online website for it.
Mm-hmm. In fact, their competition's coming up in the end of November.
Their regional.
Their regionals is coming up in end of November, and the finals, I think, is just in February. But the list is huge all over the country, which I think is actually really cool, because after A&W got big, you started getting all of these different gyms just popping up everywhere. So it's nice at least to keep them, again, constantly in the lexicon of the new generation, where it becomes a participatory sport rather than something you just watch every year on TV. Because as this gets bigger, I mean, they had, I don't even know how many tens of thousands of applications. It's just physically impossible to get everybody in there. In this way, they have a way of still being in that community without getting on the show. So I like that one better, because it's closer to the spirit rather than, hey, I just want to be on TV. So I like this better, actually.
Okay. Yeah, the format's very simple. Every gym will come up with its own one-stage course, and the top 5 males and the top 5 females of each qualifier is allowed to compete in the national finals at the Movement Lab in February, and whoever wins that is the grand champion of the National Ninja League.
Yeah. It's not about the money or anything like that. It's just, I think it's cool. And that's in Hainesport, New Jersey. I know it's Mount Laurel because of, I'm used to that area. I'm like, where's Hainesport? Yeah. It's next to Mount Laurel. There we go.
Yeah.
I grew up in Philly, so that's all like suburbs to me. So,
yeah.
Cool. And then there's something else that's tied to that, sort of, kind of in a way that we've heard about it. Yeah, I've heard about it before. I wasn't sure it was actually going to happen. And I'm glad it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So go ahead and take over that part.
All right. So speaking of ninja-related competitions, Esquire has officially greenlit a Team Ninja Warrior show.
Team, T-E-A-M.
Yes.
Not T-E-E. Yes. Because at first when I read it, teen? Oh my God, kids. I was like, no, team.
No.
As in group.
We're not paying. They're not paying for that insurance.
They're they're not going to pay for that. And I can hear all the kids going.
Yeah. All right. So what this? All right. So simply put, what this is they assembled a series of courses. They're 2 courses side by side to each other, and they assembled. We don't know the exact number, but they assembled an unknown number of teams, and each team contains 2 males and 1 female. And they're going to do head-to-head races, and they're going to get points somehow, and then there'll be a winner.
I think it was
Is it 30 teams?
I think it was like 30, 20 something, no more than 30. And the list is like the who's who in A&W.
Yes, there are a lot of and you know what? And the other thing is just kind of looking at the confirmed names that we know. A lot of the teams. Hold on, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. A lot of the teams make sense. Like some of the teams have people who are related to each other, so that makes sense. Obviously, people who are known to be friends are teaming together. There's a handful. I know Jeff Britton is competing. I don't know. We haven't heard anything about Isaac Caldiero at all competing.
He wasn't in there.
So, okay. There's also a few Sasuke veterans who are going to be competing on the show. Who are American.
They're all American.
Ryan Yeah. So Ryan Stratus is going to be competing. He's going to be teaming up with fellow ASEAN Cup competitor Michael Bernardo.
Yeah. Part of Team USA.
Yay. Both Brent Stephenson and Evan Dollard are competing on a team together, and of course their female partner is Casey Catanzaro, because that makes sense. They're all friends. Obviously, Drew Dreschel and James McGrath are teammates because they live together.
I love the names. They have names for each of the teams.
I saw some of the names.
I'm not sure. I would assume they picked their own names, right? But that would make sense.
They should. So I remember Ryan and Mike Bernardo's team is called Stratisfaction.
Yeah.
Which, that one I like. I don't remember what James and Drew's was. Do you remember?
It was Real Life Beast.
There you go.
I think it was Real Life Beast because I think it's Real Life Beast. My apologies if that is incorrect. That's what I remember because Drew's nickname is Real Life Ninja.
Oh,
and then you have James Beast and I think it's Real Life Beasts. So
okay, that makes sense.
You guys can correct me later. If nothing else, do your homework. I know SMF has a good portion of the lists. There are no results on there, to my knowledge.
No.
Just because everybody had used Instagram and stuff like that, showing, hey, we're gonna be doing this. Watch for the show. Blah 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 blah. And each of them had their names with their T-shirts on there, and so it was cool. And
speaking of people posting Instagrams, we got one very pleasant surprise. The return of Lucy Romberg is the final former Sasuke competitor in Team Ninja Warrior.
Yay!
And actually, I don't know if you saw this, but on social media, she actually did reveal why she hasn't been competing.
Yes.
The answer is actually really simple. She's been busy. When they tape A&W, so she hasn't been able to compete. But
in fact, she had just finished doing Ghostbusters and then immediately went onto the set.
Oh, she was in Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
As a stunt woman, obviously, but
I would assume.
Yeah.
But she's been like almost every major movie. Yeah. Just look for Lucy Romberg. So,
well, at least the stunts in that movie will be good.
Yeah. So I just thought it was interesting. The last couple of A&Ws, there was one where, they were taping and she was like in Indonesia. I mean, it's just like she's not even on this side of the world here. So yeah, she's not going to be competing.
Yeah. And actually, there was one other surprise. I don't think we're going to see her on the show, but while they were taping, they received a visit from one Allison Hayslip.
Yes, still the best sideline reporter.
The best, yes,
ever. Yes. I would love if she could. That would be freaking awesome if she was sideline reporter for that. I mean, nice. She's well enough for a host, and she's done host, and we've had conversations about that.
By the way, when you eventually watch USA versus the World,
mm-hmm.
I don't think you're gonna like Christine Leahy very much. Just to give you a heads up.
I'm already
because I know you didn't like Jen.
Stuff. I mean, everybody knows I'm gonna probably
do it. Because I know you didn't like Jen Brown, and I think Chrissy Leahy's not as good as Jen Brown.
Jen Brown was fine. Her face didn't move.
Okay.
That's just... Her face didn't move. Either the makeup was wrong or too much Botox. It was creepy.
At least Christine Leahy's
But comparison to the three people that I was listening to, she was at least fine. I can listen to her. All right. Allison is different to me because whenever she's involved, she's like, all right, here's my job and I'm going to be passionate about it. And you can tell she gives a damn. She does. I know. So, even A&W, I mean, you can tell how much she was because she still maintained the friendships with all of the people well past her job. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like her G4 gig was what, 5 years ago? Yeah, 5 years ago.
Like that, yeah, it's been a while.
It was before M9's collapse, and we're on the 5-year mark. Something like that. Okay, let me see. No, 4-year mark because that was in I think no, it was 2010 or 2011, and we're 14. Okay, so I would say 4 years minimum, and then that was before that, because she was replaced fairly quickly.
Allison needs to be the host of her own show. Yeah.
And it wasn't that she was replaced by G4. I mean, G4 was clearing house by that point. There were a lot of people that left. Some people just didn't renew their contract, and some people were outright fired.
I know she left before the collapse.
Yes, she was one of the smart ones that saw the writing on the wall going, see ya, I'm out here.
I think she actually left before Kevin did. So.
Yes, at least a year. At least a year before. Kevin was one of the last ones to leave.
Yeah, but he still left before the collapse.
True, but by that point, you had Sessler already fired. Yes. Kevin was still there when Sessler was there. Sessler was fired. Yeah, I remember that distinctly going, wow, I'm surprised Kevin's still there.
because Kevin actually got a send-off.
Yeah, because he managed to actually finish off Attack of the Show. So they did an actual finale for it, and then after that he was gone. But all of that was after the whole Sessler fiasco. So, but anyway, see again, we're going back to G4 days and a lot. Yeah. As a side note, only because during this time, there's another podcast that's out, and the thing that I found interesting about it is the new generation now. We were having this discussion about it when we were doing the Anime Next thing, like being in an entire room with a generation that has never seen the G4 one. I'm still baffled. I guess because I've been in this for so long that you start getting comfortable with your surroundings. So when you meet somebody and they have for example, they had no idea who Lucy Romberg was. And I'm like, I'm so happy Lucy's back. And they're like, who is she? I'm like, Oh dear God.
Well,
the first woman ever, Japanese, American, it doesn't matter what
or otherwise,
first woman ever to clear the jumping spider has been effectively eliminated from A&W history.
Yeah,
and
there's a reason I was angry last year when they
exactly. So I find it interesting because both Jeff Britton and Lucy Romberg, two people that were shafted by NBC, are going to be heavily showed on the Esquire network. They're like one of the, like, even on the write-ups for this, Look Forward and whatever, they're front and center. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then having Allison there, it's just like the rise of G4 again. Because that's what Esquire was. Esquire was basically the rebranded version. No, it was just a
I know.
Yeah, it's a completely different set of people, and but in the minds of the people that have followed G4, it's rebranded G4. That's what they killed G4 for. It was Esquire.
except they didn't, and they
exactly. But you know, for people that have that set of just like, and they actually have a smaller market share than they did for G4, so that you can tell how small a network that really is. But I'm actually really excited for it because I've had this before. It's all I want is a fair competition, and they're not planning to be anything else. This is a new format. And
you know
thing that I kept hearing was how the camaraderie between the competitors was so freaking strong. Because again, it was going back to the old Sasuke days where it's against the course. Yes, it is against competitors and you have a friendly competition. And that I really enjoy watching. So it like having just a side by, that's fine. Side by side, whatever. It is like they're not trying to recreate anything. This is taking the spirit of what it was and doing a new thing. And I'm really looking forward to it. And now you don't have to worry about, well, you know, they're putting too much emphasis on the women. Everybody has a woman. So they completely taken that off the table. Each team is balanced. Period. Exactly. So there are no weekends or anything. So I'm really, because I have no idea what happened. I have no interest in figuring out what the results are.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
But I'm really interested in seeing it because that's cool. When you start looking at just the list of people and you're going, oh, well, man, well, they have, you know, the champion on this one. And, dude, but they have Casey on the other one. Like, God, Jesse Graff is on that one. It's just like, Megan's on that one. It's just, you're like trying to figure out who are, you know, and there are some people I've never even heard of, like siblings that may not have done particularly well, or not even, I'm not even sure if any of them are old enough to compete. I've never even heard of them before. And they're in there. So that adds its own element, because when you have a family team, I'm really looking forward to it. So I believe it's next year they're planning to do this.
Okay. Actually, two things, really quickly. So I completely missed this. There's actually another Sasuke competitor that is on Team Ninja Warrior that I just realized I missed. David Flip Rodriguez is also on Team Ninja Warrior. I completely missed it because I'm so used to calling him Flip Rodriguez, and the listing has him as David Rodriguez, and I'm like, oh wait, hold on. I didn't
even know his first name.
Because everyone calls him Flip.
Yeah, that's from Sasuke 27.
Yes, so he is also competing. Currently, Team Ninja Warrior is scheduled to air on Esquire in January.
Okay.
Which leads me to hypothesize that we should expect to see USA versus the World either in December or January as a way to promote the show on Esquire.
That would make sense. I'm also curious. Yes. When are they going to show the A&W All-Star special?
Well, I don't know. And what's weird is that
that's its own competition.
Yeah. And most people don't even know what that is.
Yeah, people were actually asking me directly going, are you talking about the world? No. This is literally American Ninja Warrior All-Stars. They completely redid the course.
It's an all-star game, essentially.
Yeah, and so I'm interested in looking at that. I may not know who everybody is. I just watch it on mute.
No, you won't. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that in the future.
Yeah, up to this point, there is no announcement.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to Team Ninja Warrior. I think it can be fun.
So next thing on the list is also team related, and this is on the continuation of the now 3-month-long joke on. Wait, what? So back in Sasuke China / Warrior X Warrior, whoever you want to call that, the
sponsored by Tiger High Energy.
Yes, sponsored by High Tiger. Oh my god.
I still haven't figured out how to actually buy that drink, by the way. I'm still, if anyone can link me to an actual website where an American can buy that drink and have it shipped to them, can you please help me out? Because I haven't been able to figure this out yet. I want to drink this thing on the show and see if I die or not.
Oh man. So, slight background information. Once the contract went through, it's X Warrior, right? The X comes first?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
So, sorry, I keep saying Warrior X and I keep screwing that up. But when X Warrior finally became Sasuke China, where they ended up having TBS blessing, sort of, kind of, in a way, in a financial kind of way. In a financial kind of way. There we go.
Legal blessing.
Yes. And they really, really, really wanted a team event. Now, they did this really last second, and the negotiations were still ongoing, and obviously it was a very contentious thing because this was a rip-off show, and at this point, it was like, sure, we ripped you off, here's some more money. Can we get this more stuff? It's like, no. So, there was a falling out between the two. I mean, it's still kosher, they still paid for it, and I believe they're doing it again next year. I know they really, really, really want to. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's what the plan is so far. They managed to scrape through asking competitors to build their own teams, and that's how this ended up happening. So 4 separate head-to-head matchups have happened at the end of September in China. And
so essentially, it's China versus the world.
Technically, because again, this was really thrown together at the last minute, and whoever can go over.
When you look at the matchups for each episode, it's like it's Netherlands versus China, UK versus China, Singapore versus China, and it'll air by the time this episode goes up, but USA versus China.
Yeah. So.
And who's on Team USA? Tell me all 5 names, please.
I can tell you 4.
Tell me all 5 names, please.
Okay. So, yeah. David Campbell, James the Beast, McGrath. You never have to say the whole thing.
You got it.
Brian Orozco, and Evan Dollard.
And?
I don't know. I don't watch AEW, so if he's featured in AEW in the last 4 years, I have no idea. So
I don't know who he is.
Random American dude. I'm sorry, he could be fabulous. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. And everybody in this Memphis going, who is he? So I guess we now have who the hell is this 5th competitor? So
as far as we know,
James
maybe
McGrath, we now have a new person for your title. So yeah, so he's now the Beast, and the other guy is, who the hell am I?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. So they have them on YouTube. They've been coming out every week. Like within a couple hours of it airing in China, which is actually pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
They have their own website and everything, which is how we found X Warrior in the first place. So they've already shown the first 3 matchups, and everything is still there. So if you're still interested in doing that, and then the other one is supposed to premiere November 3rd. So we're taping on a Monday. So by the time you see this, it'll be already out. And that's the end of the of Sasuke China's taping for this year, at least. So should be interesting. So I'm not spoiling it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, and no, and there was no Team Japan. I was asked, oh god, at least 30 emails on that, and that was because of the negotiation problems.
I just really wanted to know. I apologize. Okay. Didn't mean to say.
No, you did not send me the same message 30 times. No, but actually, while I'm at it, I'm gonna pull something from later in the list only because it pertains to this.
Okay.
There are two competitions that are about to tape, and they're all also gonna have at least one of them's gonna have a team thing, which is cool. Sasuke Vietnam is getting their second season. Actually, I'll start with Indonesia first because Indonesia was announced earlier this year. And I think officially they announced it like in September. I knew like January, but well, the ink drying, and then by the time they actually organized everything, so they officially announced it like September. They're taping in December, and as we speak, they're doing the first like trials and stuff. It's like November 2nd through the 8th, and so. This is their first time doing that, and I believe it is a 4-stage course, with slight tweaks, similar to like I think how they did with Vietnam, but more importantly, TBS is back to doing this. Inui, the director for Sasuke, Masato Inui, is doing, he's overseeing the construction of the course. So they're not... It's as close to Sasuke specs as possible because it is the director, the same one that that oversees production for the Sasuke Japan course. If you notice what happened with Sasuke Vietnam last year, Vietnam asked for something different. It is a 4-stage course, and it is normal size, as I like calling it, as opposed to what happened in China where it was a smaller, more condensed version. I'm not sure what's going to happen in Indonesia. So, I mean, it's a brand new country. I'm sure they want a slightly easier course to gauge the level of athleticism. I would assume similar to like what happened with Singapore and Malaysia, where they were trying to gauge how athletic each of their competitors were. It's a shame their seasons didn't continue to evolve. They just stopped. So I'm curious how Indonesia's going to do. So Inui is supposed to be leaving in a couple of weeks to start building their course because they start taping for the actual event in December. And then he goes right back to Vietnam and does season 2. And what's interesting with Sasuke Vietnam is that he did a call out for applications for Team Japan. So I'm not sure if they're going to have an international thing. It'd be nice. But the fact that they're actually going to have... They've already announced now in, end of October, early November for an event that's going to be taping in January. As opposed to what happened in China, where it's just like last minute, anybody can get on the plane and go, we'll take you. So I'm really looking forward to it because a lot of people had fun last year. And the only Japanese competitor that was able to go at that time, because of the taping, it was like right before Sasuke that they taped this. That was in May, and it was in May? June, or was it after? No, it was before. It was before. It was really freaking hot. That's all we remember. But
there was a tornado.
Yes. Oh God, I forgot about tornado. I actually put that on my blog, and just like that, I forgot about it. Yeah, it was a tornado.
It was before because we talked about it in episode 1, and you had not left to go to the show yet.
Yes.
To go to Sasuke yet. So
that was in March or April?
Probably April.
I believe.
Well, maybe March actually.
So let's just say it was late spring. Late spring. But either way, April. This so interesting. Probably so they'll be taping in January. It's a totally different. I wonder if it's not maybe as hot. I don't.
Maybe
I
we'll
have
less tornadoes.
Hopefully not. They don't need another act of God to stop that course.
Yeah.
But either way, so I'm really looking forward to it because there's a lot of interest worldwide for continued ninja competitions in the US and worldwide. So the whole hope, and there has been confirmation that the Sasuke World Cup is still incoming. No date has been set. But it's been obvious. I'm happy that there's been so much activity from that point of view, where it shows to TBS going, yes, this is relevant, and you're not running it, we're gonna be doing it. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, okay, I get it, everybody wants it. Because when you try to ask an athlete to just kind of sit for a year, no, that's just not going to happen. They're going to find ways to keep themselves busy, whether it's, small ninja competitions around the country or jumping into special events from the different spin-offs. I mean, the interest is always there to have the, head-to-head, UK versus USA or Singapore versus China, or, I mean, it just, I like the introduction of all the different countries trying each other out in friendly competition. And that's the important word, friendly. It's not that we're trying to tear each other down or anything. And it's like, I love the Olympics. That is friendly, well, sometimes even unfriendly. But it's still competition, and that is just in the nature of an athlete to compete. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm curious how big the Vietnam event, if it's announced so early and so publicly. So that's why I ended up moving it from where it was on my list to that.
So I have a question about Indonesia. Mm-hmm. Who came up with the stupid name?
I don't know. They use both names. It is Sasuke Ninja Warrior Indonesia, and it has the logo of the old G4 Ninja Warrior.
The old G4 Ninja Warrior logo.
Yes. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, but it's Sasuke, and it has a TBS person overseeing production.
And it's the Sasuke logo that they're using also.
They use both. It's sort of like everybody, you know what it is? What it reminds me of, like when you're tagging a YouTube video and you throw every single one of the tags hoping that somebody will pick one of them. So they're like, all of them, everything, ever.
Excuse me. I wouldn't know anything about that.
So I'm really curious on how all of that's gonna go. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I just hope it would have been better
if they just called it Sasuke Warrior. But the fact it's called Sasuke Ninja Warrior just sounds really dumb.
Well, the only thing that I can think of is if that country has only aired Ninja Warrior, that's their connection.
So why not just call it Ninja Warrior Indonesia?
Because Ninja Warrior Indonesia would connotate the Echo Line as doing it, in which case it's the American Ninja Warrior version.
This whole thing is weird.
See, this is why. Even on the boards on the Sasuke Maniac forums, we had to make that the delineation because there are two competing, and they are competing whether you like it or not. Two different competing formats. You have Vietnam, Singapore. Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia now.
Japan.
Obviously. Well, Japan obviously is as the main one, and Saudi Arabia coming up. All of those are TBS backed. We can now throw China in there as well, sorta, kinda. They're kind of on the fringe.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, they stole A&W, lock, stock, and barrel. But they ended up, making nicey and going towards the Sasuke name. So, but all of those are under the TBS umbrella. We actually had to separate this on the forum, so that's under the Sasuke spin-offs. And then you have the A&W spin-offs where they used the regionals as the format itself rather than, the Vegas course. So
A&W, Ninja Warrior UK.
That's UK, Sweden, Turkey.
Turkey.
Denmark, Germany. Right. I think Germany. I'm not sure if Germany got the Sasuke one or the A&W one. I think it's the A&W one. And all of those are produced by Echoline, and they're built by ATS, and ATS are the ones that build American Ninja Warrior. in Vegas. So it's two different production companies, two different television stations, all under the auspices of TBS because they own the parent format of Sasuke, but they're two different formats. And so that's why I thought it was interesting, and thank you for bringing it up, where you had the Sasuke Ninja Warrior. So I think it's because they still run Ninja Warrior, like the G4 version of Ninja Warrior with that. And so they're trying to get people to make that connection, but to prove that it's Sasuke, they threw that on there so then people can know that that's the format that they're using. That's the only thing that I can think of. And when you see how they're doing it, it makes more sense. It just sounds like they were throwing taglines all together. So as long as...
Well, they kind of are, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just... because I saw it first written. And because I was just the TBS doing their press releases, and I'm like, wait, what? And then I saw the logo, and I just laughed for about 10 minutes, going, wow, I haven't seen that logo in 5 years. I just find it funny because everything's happening at once. You know, Lucy Rombert's coming back, Allison Hayslip's coming back, and now we got some other country jacking the logo of a G4. I'm like, is this the resurgence of G4?
Yeah.
It's just really, really funny.
So we'll see what this new Indonesian show will bring.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
So if anybody's interested, usually not always, Inui will post like random photos from wherever he's taping from. He's prolific on Twitter. Anybody that follows him, be prepared to get a lot of tweets. But he has shown lots of behind the scenes. That's where we got a lot of the obstacle introductions.
Previews?
Yeah, the previews before the tournament is even taped. Or like immediately afterwards. Well, he showed the tornado things. You know, it's just like, we were kind of underneath that. I had no idea. This is pretty bad. So, if anybody's interested in that, follow him. I mean, and of course, he is the director of the upcoming show, which has just been greenlit. Yes, Sasuke 32.
Oh, yeah, I guess we can talk about that.
Well, everything's kind of tied together, and I know I'm actually, for anybody at home, I am jumping all over this page.
You steamrolled over the other transition I was going to use for the other topic.
Actually, go ahead and take that, because now that I look at it, that makes sense.
Okay. So, you know how we listed all these different countries that have versions of Ninja Warrior or Sasuke? Mm-hmm. So, you know what country doesn't have that? Canada.
Yes.
What the hell is going on?
Well, I started getting some emails on this because when you start seeing a lot of Ninja Warrior this, Ninja Warrior that, and all of those are official announcements by either Echoline, Dentsu, TBS,
people who have a right
where they're announcing the next iteration of whatever, which course they're using, how it's set up, what the prize money is, the location, the dates, all that stuff. Someone had found online that Canada had done one as well. And so everybody was excited because there's like one announced like every week, it sounds, at least, you know, an exaggeration. But that's what it sounds like. It was like, okay, Germany's in here or whatever. It's like, ooh, and then all of a sudden Canada. And I feel bad for my Canadian friends because they don't even have Ninja Warrior. They never got the G4 version. Ever.
Aww,
they never did. So all of a sudden it's like, you know, you start hearing, you know, the like a church choir, like, oh, you know, it's like it's actually happening. Yes. The answer is no, it is not actually happening. Someone is unfortunately taking the opportunity to brainstorm publicly online using deceptive information as if it were true. What they're hoping
so basically
to do,
it's just
someone, there's a couple of fans, or a fan, I'm not sure who it is, they're trying to basically build a portfolio so they can try to shop that to some television station in Canada in the hopes to entice them. The problem with how they're doing it is that they're lying to everybody. They're receiving money for applications for some pseudo event that's not even happening, for prize money that doesn't exist in a location that doesn't exist, using the name that doesn't belong to them. Because there is a specific image when you use Ninja Warrior Canada that pops up, and all of it is legal and starts with 6 figures. And so when you use that, and the worst part is you're toying with the emotions of our Canadian friends who have been waiting a decade for this show.
Forever.
Literally a decade for this freaking show to finally be in Canada, and someone has the audacity to play with that. I was not kind. So CBS is aware of it.
I saw you laid some smackdown on Twitter.
Well, it wasn't even a smackdown. It was
No, it was a smackdown.
Yeah, so it's just like, dude, like, if it's for real, I'm happy. I'm extremely happy. I have a lot of Canadian friends who would, sell off their grandmom to get this show. And they're still going, hey, Canada's America's hat. Can I get on A&W? You know what I mean? They'll do anything to get on the show. And some of them have tried crossing the border to get on any of these shows. Some of them managed to get on Sasuke in the past. They had a couple of Canadians in there. But to have it on there and then find out that some guy in the back of a warehouse somewhere or some mall using some fake name and whatever to garner interest off of someone's dreams, that's just despicable. And I have no patience for that. And neither does TBS, because TBS is extremely protective, especially now because it is spinning off in various countries. And they can't control how these countries perceive their new license. Each country has a different way of doing that. So,
not to mention, they just had an instance of someone in a different country using
China. China
name.
Stole it, not just stole the name. They already had episodes aired. And so, this is the earliest, thank you to the to the Super Sleuths and SMF that found that out. I don't know what's going on with that. At this point, I'm just going to let, the legal team in TBS take care of it. If he's serious about it, then great. But don't play with people's emotions that way. That's just cruel.
Yeah. Like, at worst, this is a scam.
Yes.
At best, this is... At best, this is a horribly misguided attempt at making a Canadian version of Ninja Warrior.
Yes, because
at least in terms of how it's going about.
Well, yes, because now you're trying to convince a television station to take your idea by stealing information, identity theft, and fraud, because they're taking money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and why at that point you made it worse, because now you've tainted it in Canada because some A-hat decided to grandstand. It's just like, no, you don't do that. What you would do is write to the TV stations, send them over the information on the popularity of 18 years of Sasuke. Look at what's happened across the board in the United States, where it has exploded, where millions of people watch this, and
or heck, if you want to try to gather interest or try to gauge interest in Canada, there's a way to do that without taking people's money.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, I'm planning a pitch.
Yeah.
For a studio, and I want to see how many people would be interested on being on the show. You don't have to take the money.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem.
Or even the idea, it's the fact that he announced dates. It's the fact that he came up with some money that's not even substantiated. It's the, hey, this is the format that I want. If you are clear from the beginning, I mean, how many Facebook petitions have there been? Can you bring this show back or whatever? And there are plenty of people that'll be more than happy to sign a petition or create a Facebook community, Canadian wannabe ninja warriors. There's plenty of people that either want to compete, want to see the show on Canadian airwaves and whatever. There's other ways of doing that without impersonating an organization that is not yours. Because at that point, you're poisoning the pool. Because people actually believe Ninja Warrior Canada was legitimate. And it's not. So it just... it's like, if you want to piss me off, that's one way of doing that. It's like, do not prey on someone else's dreams. That's just cruel. So now the Canadians are going, great, now somebody totally screwed it up because now TBS is going to be prejudiced against it because of some idiot that decided to try to impersonate their franchise. It's just, no, that's just wrong.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah.
When one person just ruins it for everyone.
I've dealt with that personally in my life, so that's
let's not get into
that's
that.
a subject that's really, really, really sore, and just no.
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about something that makes you happy.
Yes.
So Inui. So we are no longer the most official, unofficial Sasuke related web show.
I love that entry, by the way. I'm like, there's a couple of ways that he can do. Now I know which one you're taking up. Yes.
So Inui has his own show on Nico Nico.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Nico.
Yeah.
And I watched a little bit of it thanks to you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if it was held at Shingo's place, right?
Yes.
Shingo's. Yes.
Mm-hmm. He has a sort of a rehabilitation center. It was supposed to be a gym, but things kind of changed, and so it's a
bit too small to be a gym.
Yeah, it's very small. But he's still developing it, and I think he's going to be opening up a separate location, which is cool. So people go for physical therapy and rehabilitation type things. So it was cool. He ended up after he closed the doors. They had it in an informal setting, and Inui has said it from the beginning. To reiterate, he is not TBS. He hasn't been in 10 years. He's president of his own company called Fullcom, and he's an outside contractor that was hired to basically resurrect the show. He has a lot of influence, and he's still the creative owner of the show. So anything that you see, what it looks like on television and how it is visually presented through the airwaves, he's still the content owner. So when he's talking about how to build a course, what the things should look like, and that sort of thing, that's his territory. He doesn't control who gets on the show. So invites or anything like that, that's all TBS. He doesn't do any of the funding stuff. That's the producer, So what he's doing was something that he and I have been talking about for about 8 months now, where when M9 went down, something else had disappeared along with the company. And the company did a lot of things right. And one of them was, again, the conversation that we were just having previously, having Ninja Warrior, or in this case Sasuke, in the lexicon of the current generation. So the current generation is online now. So social media, streaming, YouTube, their version is Nico Nico. Something that every month you'll get a little bit here, a little bit there. So people were constantly talking about it. And it doesn't cost, in this case, not a lot of money, if at all. They're still using the same contract that they have with Nico Nico. Only difference is they were running it through their laptop. That's the first time they'd ever done anything without the Nico Nico team, because each time that you saw it for the two Sasuke 30 and Sasuke 31 broadcasts that they did concurrently with the TBS airings of those tournaments, all of those were done at the Nico Nico building with the staff. Right. This one was, okay, I'm going to find out how to hook up my camera and my laptop, and they actually use the microphone to the laptop, so things have to kind of get ironed out and fixed up for future ones. But it was an attempt to try to interact with the community, and they were actually happy because they had 1,000 people that ended up watching this. They ran it with no commercials, so you didn't have the constant dropout every 5 seconds, which was nice. So, and the important thing is that he spent the entire time reading the comments. And a lot of them were stupid, because anybody who's gone to any kind of forums of any type, you'll have the, hey, why don't you do the inverted body drop? What? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, of course.
So,
you know,
he wasn't,
the inverted body drop.
Yes, this wasn't, I'm being facetious. But, so this was supposed to be like an unofficial thing of just discussing the types of things that he wants to deal with for the next tournament. And so TBS realized he was going to be doing this. He goes, oh, okay, I'll give you a bone, and good. You and I already know that it's already for next year. Just officially say that it has been greenlit. Not given a date or anything, but we can now openly discuss that you're doing this because there is a tournament that's coming. So that's how the unofficial official thing. But yeah, Sasuke 32 has been greenlit. So there is a tournament next year. They did mention at that point, as I mentioned earlier, where the World Cup is coming back. There's still discussions on format, timeline, how they're going to do it, what course.
Now, to be clear, this is the Sasuke World Cup, not the Soccer World Cup.
Yes, the Sasuke World Cup, which is basically the TBS-run world team competition. Their version of it. What was originally planned, I don't know if it's going to happen, so there's no point in me mentioning what it was. The format's changed several times, so I don't even know what they're going to do, and he's already said this, so they have no idea what they're going to do. So his preference is not to have it in Midoriyama. TBS wanted it in Midoriyama just for financial stake, where one of the options was, running a tournament, and similar how A&W does it, where they have the American Ninja Warrior, 5, 6, 7, whichever one is running, and then like the very next day do starting different specials. And that's how USA versus World had happened, and then USA versus Japan, and then USA versus World. Inui is not interested in doing that, simply because he wants only like the finalist of everybody. He wants Sasuke to be the pinnacle, not the qualifier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and there's other reasons behind it, because the image that he has for Sasuke is very different, and that's its own story. I'll leave it for another time. And it has a lot to do with the fact that Sasuke is not Mount Midoriyama. Sasuke is the Steel Castle. He has a specific image in his head on what that Steel Castle is. So to have anything but Sasuke Japan in the Steel Castle doesn't seem right to him. So there's some difference in opinion on what TBS as a format going. It's just logistically easier to just do it this way. He goes, no. I have a specific image in my head as creative director what Sasuke means, not just to competitors but to me personally. So I don't want anything other than people who have qualified to be there, and not have another event piggyback on that basically sacred soil. So it's an interesting story, and we'll get to that at some point. I can understand why there's some conjecture of where it's going to be held. It will be in Japan. They might move it completely off site. I'm curious now. So now I understand why there's been such a huge delay. So I'm still really hoping some of the earlier ideas for how that event's going to run does run, but nobody knows yet. So, but he did address that. One thing that I like about Inui, and something that happened in the Nico Nico broadcast, is that someone asks a question, he immediately gives you the answer completely unfiltered. So right off the top of his head. So, you'll have, those some of the political answers, and or if it's more politically correct to not say anything, he just won't answer it. Like are the Americans going to Sasuke? He goes, I don't know, I'll ask TBS. That's a political answer because obviously, yes, he can't, he doesn't control that, and also that's a loaded question because that's all about contracts and what TBS is doing with NBC, and if NBC is doing that, and we've had that long discussion already on just the political ramifications of that question. Yeah. But those are the type of questions that they asked, and they spent the majority of the time, they were actually talking some Sasuke history on how they were planning to do certain things. They were actually planning to air some Sasuke 31, like the second and third stage. I'm sorry, it's third and fourth stages during New Year's, but then that got ditched at the last second. And then they spent the majority of the time talking with the audience about obstacles and what's feasible, what's not feasible. And the worst part is that I have two people that I rely on most to be able to do translations for me, and both of them caught the plague. I call it plague because like the where you're not sure which end to put in the toilet first. That sort of thing. Kenny moments, so they're both violently ill. One of them almost ended up being hospitalized. The other one now, even as we speak, he can't speak for longer than 2 minutes before he goes into violent coughing. So the idea of having to try to translate all that stuff, so I'm like, okay, so at this point, just screw it. So I get the general idea. If you can do it later, fine. But at this point, I'm just, forget it. We have the general idea. Thank you to, I'm sorry I didn't write down the name of the person that did some partial translation for us, gave us the synopsis of what the Nico Nico broadcast was about. So thank you. I think it was CAS. I'm sorry. I'll make sure to give William the information and properly put that in the show notes to give that person thanks. That person translated, from what we can hear, and because it was an informal format and they used the microphone of the laptop, some of it was a little bit difficult to hear. So it was a little difficult to get a good translation of some of the stuff that, and we'll try to communicate that to see if, just like, dude, just get a microphone and get it a little bit closer to the people so people can hear you correctly. But it's a work in progress, and I appreciate that he's doing that at all.
Yeah. We haven't actually mentioned it, but he had guests.
Yes, he had 5. I'm trying to remember off of the top of my head. We had Shingo.
4.
Shingo.
Yeah, 4 because I'm looking
Ryo
right now.
Madachi. Yuji Urushihara. Hyoki. Masashi Hyoki. Was Tomo there? No, Tomo was not there.
No,
I think it was just those 4 then.
Yeah, well, it's 4.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm looking at the video right now. It's 4.
The reason why I thought it was 5 is because when the announcement first came out, he puts at the bottom, I think it was Yosho. I'm trying to remember. Again, I'm not looking at my notes right now for that specific thing. It's on my website if you're interested. And the
RamblingRican.com.
Yes, Rambling. I hate plugging my own stuff. That's a problem. It's like I'm horrible at marketing especially because I'm marketing a personal thing. I have a really hard time with that. So
hey,
I need a secretary, somebody who's not afraid to just like pimp stuff because I'm just not good at it.
I'll tell you what, I'll plug your website, you plug my website, so we're not plugging ourselves.
You know what? I think that's a fantastic idea. So as my wonderful co-host from the Final Stage podcast has a wonderful couple of sites, and I'll do that, and you'll do Rambling Rican. We're good.
Yeah.
But
except,
yeah,
well,
he had posted basically Lord of the Castle. Mm-hmm. And that was it was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek type thing because, again, Sasuke is not Mount Midoriyama. It is the Steel Castle. So he is the Lord of the Steel Castle. And that was so I'm like, who's this person? And they're like laughing again. That's a play on words. It's actually him. So that was what that
Right.
fifth person in my head. And even now, I'm like, there's a fifth person. It's like, oh, it's Inui.
Yeah.
So because he didn't put his own name, he just put the title Lord of the Castle. And I was just laughing hysterically once somebody went to the process of explaining what that was. I'm like, oh my god. But I did find it interesting because there were two things that the Inui wanted to correct from history. A, Sasuke is not Midoriyama, and B, it is not total victory, it is complete because the actual translation to Kansensei Ha is complete domination. It is not total victory. So he did the middle and put complete victory and wrote that in English when Morimoto won. Because total victory is not the direct translation to Kansensei Ha. And it bugs him just as much as it bugs me. So, but it's just that separation of total victory and Mount Midoriyama off in that side going, that belongs to the Americans, and Steel Castle and complete victory is the Japanese. So I thought that was just funny, and you know, that's why I get along with him, because it's just like the both of us are just evil, I guess. It's just like, you did that, you went there, didn't you? So
That's one way to put it.
yeah, you know.
All right.
He's just as protective of his own. I mean, he's been with the show since Sasuke won.
Yeah.
You know, and had it not been that there was a lot of political drama halfway through the series, he would have been with the series the whole time. But yeah, but he's been there from the beginning. So the core of what Sasuke is Inui. You know, he's always had a lot of creative control over what things look like. He was not the originator of the actual concept. That's still Higuchi and always will be. But the look and the feel of the show, and whether you agree with him or not, is still much of a passion to him. You know, we may differ in how he wants to present the show from now on, and that's always a funny conversation when it happens, and even with other competitors and online, because he digs and all the time online with the different competitors, and even, you know, some of the Americans, because he loves writing to the foreigners. But yeah, so it's just interesting. So I'm curious on how he's gonna develop all these different countries to a new image. So long as Sasuke Japan continues, I'm more than happy for all the other ones to just continue.
Right. Okay. And I think it's a good note to leave on.
Yeah, I think we
Personally.
only did an hour and a half. What?
Yeah, I know. It's that's crazy. It's like really short for us.
Yeah, I know. That's actually kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
No, trust me, we can keep going on for hours. So yeah, having the list immediately in front of me and just did a whole lot better.
Yeah. I should make lists more often.
Hey, you were the one that created the list in the first place.
I know. That's why I should do it more often.
Yeah.
'Cause apparently it helped.
Yes, it did. Very much
Yay.
so. I just have to remember to
All
have
right,
it in
then.
front of me. I actually have it on my phone. So
Okay.
all
right. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So before we head off, we say all the plugs and all that stuff. There's one little thing I would like to say personally. So this is the November episode of the Final Stage podcast. And November 18th is the 8-year anniversary of me uploading my first video to YouTube.
Oh wow.
Which was the Mercury Laboratories Test 1 Part 1.
Has it
which
been
also,
8 years?
Yeah, 2007.
Wow, congratulations.
I know. And there's a few things that I want to say about the first 8 years of my internet quote-unquote career. So first off, to anyone who has watched my stuff and enjoyed it, regardless if you started in 2007 or you just started this year in 2015, thank you very much. It's always appreciated. especially I always get excited when people leave comments and stuff, and it's very nice to see that there are people who like what I do.
Yeah.
Even if it's a relatively small amount, but just the fact that people like it is always nice. And to be perfectly honest, I do have a bit of a history of not releasing things on a consistent basis. I've learned to not promise things ahead of time and then fall behind and not do it in time. And to be perfectly honest, that's all on me. There's no real good excuse most of the time for not releasing stuff in a timely basis. I'm not going to get into full details of that, but it's mostly just my fault, and I'm sorry about that, to be honest. But this past month, I updated 2-2 for the first time in almost a year.
Yeah.
And that felt really good. And I would honestly, I would really like to make year 9 the best year I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a nice thing to do. So it's funny, I actually have a full, I keep track of my progress of how the videos do and all that stuff. So, I would like 2016 to be objectively my best year ever in both 2.22 and 2-2 wise. Because 2010 was my best year, just statistically. And I would like to be able to beat that. So, I'm not going to give specific dates of when things are coming out because I've learned from that. But the plan is to get more stuff out.
Well, they can follow you on Twitter so they can see updates on whichever of the websites and YouTubes. And trust me, I've been there as well, where I've done more on Rambling Rican than on my YouTube. And now I actually have some video content to do. Right. So it's funny because when I look at it, I'm going, it's been 3 weeks since I did that video. And, I explained earlier why it's taking me so long to do a later video. But that's something I also want to develop as well. So I completely understand where it's I want to do that. And then I start getting depressed going, 2 months have passed and I still haven't done it. But, so it's just my brain goes elsewhere and then life happens. And then all of a sudden you turn around going, oh, crap, 3 weeks have happened or 6 weeks or, wow, has it been a year? You check the last upload going, no, that wasn't. Yeah, that was really.
Yeah. So, and I would actually say that this podcast has helped me feel more motivated to do stuff. So, in a way, I should thank you because this was your crazy idea.
Yeah, and it is a crazy idea.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy for the pace as well because there are times where I'm like, maybe we should do a No, just throw it on the list. We'll discuss it at the end of the month. Because it is difficult to pace things for a yearly show. And for anyone that is now getting used to A&W being yearly, now can fully appreciate going, that show isn't coming back until May. Yeah.
The funny thing is, we were afraid that during the off-season of Sasuke, we wouldn't have much to talk about. We have had longer episodes since the Sasuke episode.
I tell you, at the same time, though, it is encouraging because I wasn't expecting to see all of these spin-offs, specifically all of the Sasuke spin-offs. And then all the good things that I like from the American version. Like the whole thing with the Esquire competition, it makes me happy because it is not this, hey, win $1 million and, beat everybody and be the best. And it's no, it's a friendly competition. The things that I liked about it and what I like about Sasuke as well. And, even the crazy stuff with China. You know what I mean? It's that desire of everybody wanting to be intricately part of that community all throughout the year, rather than showing up for a tournament, going yay, and then disappearing for a year. So yeah. I'm happy at least that there has been, even if it's a trickle of information, but it's a constant flow every single month to keep us on. We
picked a good year to start this podcast. We really did.
I remember I kept telling you how fortuitous it was that I ended up doing a blog right before Sasuke 20, like at Sasuke 20, and all of a sudden just explosion happened, and then just like everything happened at once. Like, so, you know, I guess it just one of those things. I still don't know what possessed me to do it, but there we are 7 years later.
Yeah. Yay.
So,
yep.
But that's pretty cool.
So yeah, so
oh, my anniversary's in March.
Yay. So just as a little update, new stuff will be coming, and I will, I might divulge more details in December when I plug the living heck out of everything that I do.
Yeah,
You'll
but
see.
For the most part, we do a lot of planning stuff and announcing stuff, and whatever delays and whatever for the most part on Twitter. So I know you have a Facebook, but basically we live on Twitter.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in just following us there.
So speaking of Twitter, you can find her at Arsenette on Twitter, and she has a YouTube channel which is also Arsenette, and you can find her content at ramblingrecon.com.
Yay!
Do you have anything coming up that you want people tell people about?
Outside of the calendar coming up, more videos from the trip in Sasuke. In fact, after the Yuji one will be, and I don't know how many parts, but basically the recording of the registration line and talking to some of the competitors at Sasuke 32, and then a couple of things after that. And that's probably going to take me, considering how slow it's been for me, that's probably going to be the next several months of me pulling a little bit. And other things I can't talk about, and hopefully I'll be able to talk about next month. But there's a lot going on in the background that I'm really freaking excited about. And provided, nothing major happens, there might actually happen. So... look forward to it. Hi.
So yeah.
And you can be. I can never keep up with yours.
Oh, come on. Okay.
2D2 Will, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Unbelievable. All right. So you can find me on Twitter at 2D2Will. You can also find me at 222productions.com. I'm still working on archiving all my old stuff onto that website that I haven't been archiving on that site for 2 years because laziness. But yeah, that's coming soon-ish. Also, check out 2-2.com where you can read my review of Encouragement Climb Season 2.
Which was really good. I loved that.
Thank you. Also, hopefully by the time this podcast comes up, you can check out my reviews of Pupa and Wakokaze, because I plan on busting out a lot more content in November.
Cool.
And also, keep up with 2-2 in November and December, because unless I crap the bed, there will be plenty of stuff. There'll be plenty of stuff to check out about me talking about mostly anime-related things. So
cool.
Check that out. And that's pretty much it from
one
me.
More thing.
And
just as a reminder, now that we're on iTunes, if you please leave a rating or rating or review on the iTunes store would be great. We're also on
Podbean, we're on iTunes,
which is the hosting site. And these are also up on YouTube, which actually I think the majority of people have been seeing it through YouTube.
Yes.
So please share and try to get the audience larger so more people can be in the know of the information on Sasuke, since it's constantly moving and constantly growing, and there's a huge need for a lot of basically old Sasuke and even current Sasuke for all of these new American Ninja Warrior fans that are just interested in the world of Sasuke, regardless of which country it's from. So you know, that's pretty much it.
Yep. And I guess since you mentioned YouTube, I should bring up that if you want, you can contribute to helping out the show by supporting through the YouTube tip jar feature on 222 Productions.
Yep.
But yeah, that's completely optional.
Yay!
Then you don't have to.
No, we'll continue to do it, and so long as Sasuke's still going and we're still having fun doing it, we should be.
And I have $96 to spare a year.
Yeah.
So on that note, thank you everyone for listening to the Final Stage podcast. We had a lot of fun this time. I'm looking forward to getting this episode out. I already know what I'm gonna call it. I knew what the title was going to be before we even started, and fortunately, that has not changed. So I'm not telling you ahead of time.
No, you never do, and I always crack up when it pops up. Oh, and happy Halloween, everybody!
Oh yeah, I hope you had a good Halloween. Have a happy Thanksgiving, because that's going to happen before the next episode. Yes. I don't know if the Veterans Day, have a happy that, I guess. Is there any other holidays in November?
Family members. I had a lot of birthdays in November.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hope you had a happy election day, I guess, because that happened in the future past.
We're having a Back to the Future moment.
Yeah. Hopefully the person you voted for won in whatever elections you voted in.
Yep.
I don't know. With that said, come back next month where we're going to talk more about stuff. Maybe China, maybe Japan, maybe America. Who knows? I don't know.
There may be a new country that pops up. That's how quickly things are moving.
Maybe, as far as we know, there might be a Sasuke, I don't know, Korea next month.
I don't doubt something like that.
That'd be cool. Especially if KBS got it, because they'll put on their YouTube channel. And then I could watch Dream Team and Sasuke Korea. Be awesome.
And on that note.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, by the way, happy 300th episode to Let's Go Dream Team 2. They just celebrated that. So, that note, goodbye.
Goodbye.